The next slide. So we will start with a brief introduction of COLEAD and the Market Insights Department. And then we will move to the organic trade study. So we will share insights from our COLEAD organic study on fruit and vegetable trade. Afterwards, we will show you a dashboard on organic trade, and we will show you how to use it. And then we will finish with a Q&A session at the end of this webinar. So first, COLEAD and the Market Insights Department. For those on the next slide that have never heard of COLEAD, we are a non-for-profit private sector organization, association actually, providing a network, tools, expertise to build capacity in the agri-food sector. Formerly, before we were called ACP, so maybe that rings a bell to some of you. Now this year we changed name to COLEAD. We exist over 50 years and we are active in more than 50 countries, ACP countries, mainly Sub-Saharan Africa, and we focus on the fruit and vegetable sector. But now we are opening also beyond the ACP group of countries and beyond the fruit and vegetable sector. And therefore also we changed this year our name to COLEAD. Voila. And more details you can find on this slide, which will be shared with you or on our website. The next slide. So just here an overview of the tools we provide with COLEAD. These digital resources are open available, most of them, and some of them are available after a request for support or becoming a member of COLEAD. In these slides, there are also links, and they will be sent to you. So afterwards, you can use them to navigate to the different resources. And in this presentation, we will look at the dashboards published on the COLEAD Analytics webpage. So that will come later. So then a small word about our department. So the Market Insights Department is a small and relatively recent department. We have 5 permanent staff in our department, and we use a network of experts. And of course, we have our members that also provide us information and insights. So we collect data from different sources. We transform it. We store it in a data warehouse. We link it to each other, and we use it to create interactive dashboards, for example. We also monitor the news, and we share insights from trade fairs, etc., via our social media. We make publications and reports in which we study different aspects of the trade and the sector. And we also translate this data into insights and then into action. So we also have a business support part of activities in which we help companies with matchmaking, etc. So yes, that's the core of our activities. And now after this brief introduction, it's time to go to the main topic of this webinar. And I will give the word to Alexandra Waflar, which is a project officer at our Market Insights Department. And Alexandra was kind of the editor-in-chief of the Organic Market Study. And therefore, I think she's the best person in place to present it to you. So I will leave the word to her now.
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. I'm Alexandra, and yes, I'm going to dive into the main focus of this webinar, which is organic trade. So just to give you a bit of context as to why we chose this topic for this first webinar, we recently published a study on organic fruit and vegetable trade, especially coming from ACP countries. There's definitely a lack of data and available reports in this field, and that's why we decided to focus on those topics, trying to use what we have available and put them together. You can see here on the slide the main structure of the study. If you're ever interested in other parts that we're not going to present today, So there's first an introduction, a presentation of organic agriculture, where we quickly touch upon regulation and certification. Then we move on to production of organic fruit and veg. We also analyze the demand using, again, what we have available, which is retail sales, so what is actually sold in the stores, in the supermarkets, but also imports into the EU and into the US for some of the products, but not everything. We also did some more detailed analysis on 11 products that you can see here on the right of the slide. So those are the 11 products that we chose. And for each of them, we went into further details into the imports to the EU or the US when available. Who are the suppliers, where this product comes from, what are the growth rates, the share of the organic products on conventional products. So how is this product interesting for consumer in the organic version of it? So this type of more detailed information. And then we went into a SWOT and a conclusion. So if you want more information on any other topic here, you can go check it out in the full study. Today, we are going to focus on two key aspects, which are the demand side. This will be about global overview of the markets, the imports, and then the imports into the EU, and then some summarized information on the 11 key products that we analyze. So, well, let's get into it. The first thing I wanted to share was this kind of global overview of retail sales. So this shows what is sold in the supermarkets since 2000 to 2021. So this is quite a big scope in terms of years. There's two main things that you can see from this slide. Well, first of all, is that you can see clearly on this graph on the left that the retail sales are growing quite steadily for the last 20 years. We can see also that in gray, North America is one of the two biggest markets, and in yellow is the EU 27 plus UK. In terms of national countries, you can see here on the right, the main markets for 2021. So for North America, for the North American region, the US is more like 90% of the market there. But for the EU, it spreads mainly between Germany, France, Italy, the UK that we see on the graph, Sweden. And then the second thing that is very interesting in this slide is what you see in green. So the evolution here in green on this slide of Asia, because 10 years ago, in 2010, there was almost no retail sales in organic in Asia. But now today, they gain quite a big share. And you can see on the right that actually China is now the fourth main market in the world for organic products. So that's quite interesting. Okay, so now that we have this global overview of who are the biggest markets in the world, let's dive directly into the focus. So in the study that we made, we focused, like I said, on fruit and veg and on ACP suppliers. And there's some more overview in the study, but here today we're diving into really the detailed information. So hopefully you can learn some new things. So this graph shows the imports into the EU. Why? Because it's basically the only region for which we have very detailed and freely accessible data on organic trade, on what the EU is actually importing in organic products. We only have 4 years. We have from 2018 to 2021. There's always a small gap in data, so 2022 will come soon, hopefully. So we study what we can, what is available. So what you can see here on the left is the imports of EU 27 in fruit and veg, and distributed per type of fruit and veg. So in green, you have the vegetables. In yellow is the fruits. As you can see, a very big part, mainly for organic bananas. In dark red, you see processed fruit and veg, and in orange is ginger. We decided to separate ginger from the rest because, as you can see here, for a single product, it's quite a big share, and it's also growing. So that was an interesting thing to add on the slide. On the right is the same amount, so the same amount of imports than on the left, but here it's distributed per origin. So you see in green is the non-ACP origin, so everything going into the EU27 that is coming from a non-ACP country. And in gray is everything coming from an ACP country. And you can see that the share is also growing in those 4 years that we can analyze. So that's the two main things to remember from this slide. Fruit is the main part of the imports of fruit and veg inorganic for the EU27, and mainly bananas, and then that the ACP share is also growing. Now that we know that, we want to know what exactly is imported into the EU. So this slide shows first an overview of organic products imported into the EU, but coming from fruit and veg, focusing on fruit and veg, but coming from the world. So not only ACP, but from everything outside of the EU27. You see here that banana is actually separated from the rest of the slide simply because it's so big that if you put it on the same scale as the rest of the products, we don't see any trends. So banana is very much leading, it's growing in very big volumes. And if you look at the other fruit and veg imported into the EU in the organic form, we see that ginger is actually the second main imported fruit and veg, which is quite a big volume. So that's interesting to note. It's also quite increasing. We see then avocado also increasing. And if you look at the other products, we have some potatoes, juices, cashew nuts that are present. So, yeah. So the main thing to remember from the slide is that the ginger is the second main imported. I think that's something that we wouldn't think that's the reality. On the next slide here, you see it's exactly the same, but only coming from ACP countries. So the top 10 products coming from ACP countries, organic fruit and veg. First one is banana, also out of the scope, so we put it on another graph, otherwise we don't see the trends for the rest. We see that it's also big volumes, increasing. And second main product, ginger has gone, we can see that, because ginger is actually coming mainly only from China and from Peru in the organic form. So from ACP countries, the second main product, second main fruit and veg is avocado, also increasing. We see then mangoes, pineapples, cashew nuts, coconuts, etc. We can see that bananas, avocados, and cashew nuts are very much on the rise. So the imports of those organic products is growing. We can see that the pineapple imports is decreasing, approximately at the same rate as the conventional pineapple. However, it might be interesting to note that the pineapple juice, the organic pineapple juice imports are growing. Now that we know what products are actually imported into the EU27, let's see where they come from and where they go. So here on the left, we focused directly on ACP countries only. So you can see that the first one is the Dominican Republic. So also increasing. It's good to know that Dominican Republic is the second main supplier if you take all of the countries, not only ACP countries, but all of the countries exporting to EU27 organic fruit and veg, is the second main supplier after Ecuador. Both are big suppliers of organic bananas. Then Côte d'Ivoire is next, exporting a lot of bananas, some coconuts, dried pineapple. Then we see Ghana, also a lot of bananas. We see Kenya, many avocados, and Burkina Faso, Togo, etc. And we see that for most of them, the imports from those countries are mainly growing, which also makes sense given that we've seen just before that the ACP share is growing, right? So now to the importer side of the story, we see that the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany are the three main importers of organic fruit and veg into the EU, coming from ACP countries, and together they account for 3/4 of the organic fruit and veg imports. So those are really the main importers for this. Okay, so this slide now, we're gonna take a bit of a step back because we're not looking at the same thing as before, kind of. This is like the summary graph that we made based on the analysis we did on the 11 key products that are selected, that you can see again here on the left of the slide. So if by any chance you would like any more information or detailed information on one of those products, you can read the 3-4 pages dedicated to this product that is in the full study. There's also some information on the US market in the study, so that could also be interesting if you want some other information. Okay, so this slide, we are looking at the imports of EU27 of those 11 key products. We are looking to the imports of those products from the world, so not focusing on ACP this time, but it's to see like the main trends and to see what sort of opportunity we could get from here. The x-axis here is showing the annual growth rate. So that means how quickly the imports of this product is growing. The y-axis is showing the volume imported in 2021. So it gives an idea of the quantities that are imported. And then the size of the bubble represents the share of organic imports of this product compared to the conventional imports. So the bigger the bubble, the most the consumer are interested for the organic version of this product. So again, banana cannot be in the scale of this product, otherwise we wouldn't see anything else, but it's definitely leading in terms of export. It has a high growth rates, and people are interested in the organic version. However, the main suppliers are quite well installed, being Ecuador and the Dominican Republic. Ginger, that we can see here, the big bubble on the right, also appears as a growing opportunity because large quantities are imported, is growing at a high rate, and the organic ginger represents also a high share on the conventional import. So people are interested in the organic version of this product. However, again, the suppliers are quite installed, being Peru and China, like I mentioned before. Avocados, imports. So the imports of organic avocado, they show high annual growth rates above 13%, reaching also good quantities. Most of the increase is accounted for by Peru, but avocados from Kenya and Dominican Republic are growing as well. And finally, I'm going to talk a bit about cashew nuts that we can see here. It's in smaller quantities, but there's some possibilities for growth from ACP countries such as Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, or Benin. We can see that the bubble is also quite big for these products. All right, so I hope that you found this little section interesting. I hope you learned some new facts and that you saw some interesting things. If you wish to know more about any topic here or anything that is in the study but that we didn't have the time to tackle today, I would suggest that you can look it up either in the executive summary, which summarizes the main important facts from the study in a few pages, available both in French and in English. So if you know any people that could be also interested in French, feel free to share. It's freely accessible on the COLEAD e-library as part of the resources. The full study is also available in English in this link. All the slides will be shared afterwards, by the way. And the French translation will be published very, very soon. So the last, the one before last section is on the dashboards and how to use them. So maybe some of you know about the dashboard. Maybe you've been to other sessions. Maybe you've used them before, but we're gonna see them again today. As Koen mentioned at the beginning, it's part of the analytics page of COLEAD as part of the resources. So I'm gonna stop sharing the PowerPoint and go to the website so you can see with me. Sorry. So let's go on the homepage of COLEAD. You can see here on the right, there's some icons, and the second one is on analytics. If we click here, it goes to the analytics page. And when you scroll down, you can see a small tutorial on how to use the dashboards if you want more information after today. And if you keep scrolling down on the EU and world trade, on this section, the third dashboard is on imports of organic products. There's a lot of other information to browse here if you wish, but we're gonna focus on this dashboard for today. All right, so I hope you still see everything. Okay, so this dashboard is showing similar information that I showed you before from the study, which is the EU 27 imports of organic products. Except here, we don't focus on fruit and veg. We have the detailed information from the European Commission, from traces, that is given for a lot of different products. So it's including fruit and veg, but it's also including things like coffee, cocoa, soya beans, sugar, olive oil, spices, oil cakes, a lot of different things. And again, it's limited to the 4 years that are recorded. That's something we have to deal with. And then, okay, so the first thing that you see here on this dashboard is the first line at the top. And this is giving all of the filters that you can use to get the information, exactly the information that you want. So the first one shows exporting region and countries. So you can decide to see all of the graphs and all of the information for one region, one exporting region. For example, you can select Asia. You can also open the tab and select a specific country if you want, for example, all the exports from China. I will show a concrete example afterwards, but I'm showing you first what's in the dashboards. Then we can also see everything at the point of view of an importer, of the importers. So if you want to know, for example, I don't know, what Belgium is importing in terms of organic products, you can see that in here. Into class, category, and detail products, you can choose a specific product. So you have a lot of different categories and you can browse and try to find the product that you want. You can also do a quick research. For example, if you write avocado, you have it here and you can click on that and select it. Yeah, so in the HS codes filter, you can browse per HS code. If, for example, you know the HS code of a product that you want to have more detailed information on, you can do that here. You can also select a specific year. Like I mentioned, we have those 4 years. And you also have a small button here on the right that allows you to just see everything, but only coming from ACP countries. So this is a filter you can use if you want to know this type of information. So what's in the graph? At the top, you have what is imported. Here it's showing per category using the European Commission categories. If you hover your mouse over one of the bars, you can see more information on what products are included in this section. In this case, you see oil cakes, coffee, soya beans, etc. Here on the right, you see the top 10 organic products imported in 2021. So this allows you to see the specific products. Here it's banana, oil cakes, etc. And what is great is that whatever you select, you will see the top 10 products for this selection. So as the dashboard are interactive, for example, if you click on any of the categories here, for example, you want to see for processed products, what are the top 10 products? You see here, and it will move, and you see the first one is extra virgin olive oil, orange juice, apple juice, etc. On the bottom of this page, in those graphs, you can see from where the products, all of the products come from, and to where they go. So where they come from, you see the regions, Latin America, Asia, Europe, but maybe you want to know exactly from which country they come from. Then you would click on the double arrow, and it will drill down to a view per country. So that's another thing that you can see. And you can see that here, when you take all of the organic products, it includes it's first Ecuador, China, Ukraine, etc. And where it goes, so those are the EU 27 countries. And this small graph that is left here is similar to the one I showed in the slide, which is showing the different origins, ACP and non-ACP, so you can have an idea of the share of ACP on the total imports. All right, so now for a concrete example. Let's say I want to know what Kenya is exporting to the EU 27 in terms of organic products. So I'm going to go into the exporting region and countries filter. I'm going to write Kenya. I'm going to open the tab and select that. Okay, so I can see a little drop in 2019, then quite high exports in 2020 and 2021. And I can see that the first product is avocado, then macadamia nuts and coffee, etc. And I see where it goes. Oh, it goes mainly to Spain. That's quite interesting, knowing that the Netherlands is the main importer, actually, of organic products. So maybe I want to know now, well, what else is Spain importing? So I'm going to remove the selection for the exporters, and I'm going to go into the importers and select Spain, because I want to know what Spain is importing in terms of organic products. Here I see, okay, quite an increase and a small drop in 2021, okay. They're mainly importing organic avocados, then oil cakes, extra virgin olive oil, etc. I want to know where it comes from, but I don't want to know the region. I want to know the countries. So I'm going to click on this arrow, drill down, and see that it's coming mainly from Tunisia, India, China, quite diverse. So I'm going to check. I see, okay, Kenya is in here. So we see that it's written 3.7%. So Kenya is actually representing 3.79% of the suppliers for Spain. So I'm going to check. I see here Uganda is also exporting to Spain. What is Uganda exporting to Spain? I click here on the slide and everything else will adapt. And I see on the top 10 products that the main exports from Uganda to Spain in organic products is soya beans and then oil cake. So that's the type of information that you can get from this from these dashboards. It's all interactive, so you can really see and browse, and the more that you find things that you want to know, and you go in further into the selection, so you can see a lot of details. The last thing that I would like to share with you is what we put here. We put a little button going to retail sales. So like I mentioned in the beginning, data is not really easy to get for organic. So to have a global overview of the world market or the world trade, we don't have really for the world trade. So we go for the world markets, and for that we see retail sales. So that's why you put it in here, but it's very different information. On the left, you again have a few filters that you can check if you want information for a specific region. You can also see the CAGR, which is the compound annual growth rate. So for retail sales, which is what is sold in the supermarkets, we see that it's more than a 10% increase, annual increase from 2000 to 2021, which is quite big and quite steady. Something that I didn't mention, but is interesting to know, is that even if we don't have yet the data for 2022, we do expect that there will be a small decrease here when we compare 2022 to 2021. However, you can very clearly see that when you compare 2017, 18, 19, and then 2020 and 2021, those 2 years here are special years. They're exceptional years because of COVID. So we expect that even if the growth will be smaller for 2022, it will actually be in continuity to pre-COVID rates. A little side note. So this graph here on the top is the same exactly the same one that I showed in the slides. But here it's interactive, so that's the whole point of those dashboards. And on the bottom, you see 2 graphs showing the top 10 markets. On the left, you see the evolution over the last 21 years. And on the right, it's a pie chart for the aggregated data over the selected years. It's the same information, but maybe just an easier way to see first market, second, third, etc. But for example, it can be interesting if you want to know, because for North America, it's mainly the US, but for the EU 27 plus UK, maybe it's not so obvious which market it is. So maybe we can click here. You see everything else changes. And you can see the top 10 markets in this slides, in this graph, sorry, and you can see it also on this slide. It's interesting to note that Netherlands is actually only 4% of the top 10 markets in the EU, because they're also the main importers. So it's very clear when you see that they're a big hub and that they are probably re-exporting all around Europe. The CAGR, so the growth rate, is also changing when you select a region. So you can see the difference. For example, the EU 27 is above 10%, but if you select North America, you will see it's a little bit below 10%. So it's growing a little tiny bit slower than the EU. It's also very obvious, for example, if you select Asia, how big China has become since 2013. Although Japan, for example, has stayed quite steady. Okay, so I think that's it for this section as well. I hope again that you learned some interesting things. Maybe you will want to browse a bit those dashboards and see what else they can do for you. So I'm now going to go back to the presentation and let's go and take the floor for our Q&A session. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you, Alexandra, for the very nice presentation, very clear. I hope for the audience, they have the same impression, but don't hesitate to give us feedback via the chat or with an email after this presentation. And yeah, I didn't see many questions passing in the chat. So I understood everything is super clear. I saw a lot of questions about the recordings. I just want to assure everybody we will share the recording with you, so you can take your time afterwards to look back at some sections of the presentation, or if you had some problems to see the slides, you can still take your time and look back at it. And yes, is there any other question? I see someone coming here. The rejection rate for products. I don't think we have the detail on organic rejections, but we have our dashboards on the COLEAD analytics page. We have some specific dashboards on interceptions and rejections. So Eurofight, which is now traces, and RAS interceptions at the borders of Europe. So there you can select your country and see which products have been rejected, how many in which year and for what reasons. So feel free to browse also the other interactive dashboards on our website. That's already something I can reply to that, but Alexandra can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have details if it's an organic product or a non-organic product. That is not.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe
available.
We should double check, but I don't think it's recorded yet.
No, but an interesting point to check. And the analytics dashboard, yeah. So Nicolas just posted the link. Anybody else who has a question, feel free to shoot. Test it. That's one for you, Alexander.
I don't know. This is we focus really on the trade during this this study. So unfortunately, about testing and the interceptions is not was not so much tackled. However, it's something that we can check and come back.
But one thing is one thing I thought was the obvious answer is pretty sure that what we call organic means that it's certified organic by the European organic standard. So
yeah, especially if you talk about organic imports into the EU, it has to be certified. Don't hesitate if you have any question also to raise your hand, and you can just open your mic and speak.
And we don't really represent a certain market. We just focus on this topic because it's important for our beneficiaries and members and the people in our sector, but it's not a promotion for the organic market in general. So that's not
it's also quite an opportunity because the records that the traces in the European Commission is now having on the organic imports is very recent. So it's very new that we can have this overview on what is actually imported into the EU in terms of organic products and where they come from and where it's growing, where it's decreasing. And this is yeah, this is very interesting, and it's the only region where you can have as much detail. You have some details for the US, but it depends on the products and it's very scattered and less easy to analyze. So that was also the opportunity of this study.
I think we have not so much questions in the chat, so I think we can unmute Victor Mirori. Yes, Victor, go ahead.
Evening. Good evening from Kenya. I'm Victor Mirori. I'm asking whether COLEAD facilitates certification, any of the certifications allowable for the entry or participation in the EU countries.
Yes, so that's a part of our activities. So if you go to the COLEAD website, you can scroll down and you find a link, and that it will say request support. So if you are not yet a beneficiary of our programs, you can request our support, and then you can fill in a form, and our technical assistance department will analyze your request. We'll get back to you and we'll develop an action plan with you to support your company, and helping providing support to get certified can be one of the ways we support you. So that could be an option, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The link for the application for supports are in the slide, so you can also use that afterwards. Is there any other question? Otherwise, we can wrap this up, maybe. Okay. Or if there's no other question, we'll wrap up the webinar. Don't hesitate to keep writing in the chat if something comes up. Just want to say thank you very much for joining today. It's the first one of a series, so we hope that you'll find some interesting information, and the topics will be very different from time to time, not focusing on organic, so feel free to come join us again. So each topic is given both in French and in English. So if you have people you know that could be interested in another language, don't hesitate to share. And otherwise, for English speaker, the next webinar will be in October about key factors for launching a successful mango processing business, and another one in November about insights that we all gathered from international trade fairs in 2023. So if you missed, if you didn't have the opportunity to go to any trade fair, it's the opportunity to get some insights from what we could observe in those trade fairs. So thank you again for joining, and we'll share the slides and the presentations and the recording afterwards. And we hope to see you again soon for the next webinars. Thank you very much. Have a very good day.
Thank you.